The rain in November does not fall. It attacks. It hammered the plate glass of the harbor grind in lower Manhattan, turning the world outside into a gray watercolor nightmare. I watched a drop snake its way down the pane, feeling the vibration of the shitty espresso machine rattling my teeth. I am Dante Moretti, the third generation. My grandfather built this city's docks, and my father built the unions. I inherited the silence and the logistics that make New York breathe, and right now, I could not breathe. This cafe was not my territory. It smelled of burnt beans and stale pastries, but it was neutral, and neutrality was what I needed. My consigliere, Rosa DeLuca, sat across from me. She was perfectly still, her black suit impeccable. Her gaze fixed on the door. She did not drink her coffee. Neither did I. We were waiting on a container, a very sensitive container, currently sitting in a steel box at Red Hook, courtesy of Customs and Border Protection. My contact, the broker from the shipping line, was late, or rather, he was early. He burst through the door, shaking a $1,000 umbrella onto the worn tile, his face a mask of purple rage. He was not supposed to be here for another hour. My translator was not here. The broker, a man named Mr. Zhao, spotted me and stormed over. He did not speak English. He did not speak Italian. He spoke Mandarin, and he spoke it loud. He started shouting. I did not need a translator to understand the universal language of a deal gone bad. I heard the word Baltimore and cancel. "Rosa," I said, my voice dangerously quiet. "He says the window is closed," Rosa said, her voice flat. "He says the manifest discrepancy is our fault. He's threatening to reroute the entire shipment and void the contract." "Tell him to sit down," I growled. Rosa tried, using the broken market-level Mandarin she knew. It only made him angrier. He waved his hands, dismissing her. He was insulting her. He was insulting me. This was not just about one container. This was about the route. Losing this route meant losing leverage, losing face. I felt the familiar heat rise in my chest, the pressure building behind my eyes. I gripped the edge of the cheap laminate table. "Get him!" I snapped at Nico, my driver, who was standing by the door. "Get him to shut up!" Nico moved. But Zhao was already turning to leave. The deal was walking out the door. I stood up. The chair scraped loud against the floor. "Hey!" I shouted. The entire cafe went silent. "Mister?" Zhao turned. I felt the blood pound in my temples. I wanted to break something. My hand instinctively clenched, and I slammed my fist down on the counter, right next to the massive chrome espresso machine. The whole thing jumped. A stack of paper cups went flying. A girl shrieked. It was the barista, a small thing, maybe 26. I had seen her here before, always cleaning, always looking down. She wore a faded green apron with the name May stitched on it. She was clutching a wet rag, her knuckles white. She was staring at me, her eyes wide with terror. "Mister." Zhao spat one last, final insult in Mandarin and turned again for the door. "Wait," a voice said. It was small, but it cut through the silence. "Mister." Zhao stopped. I turned. The barista, May, had taken a half step forward. Her head was down, her black hair shielding her face. "What did you say?" I asked. She flinched. She looked up at me, and I saw the stammer before I heard it. He said you are dishonorable, and that your time is up. She spoke in English, the words catching in her throat, a slight, nervous lisp. Then she turned to Mr. Zhao. She spoke again, and it was not English. It was perfect, fluent Mandarin. The tone was respectful, calm, and impossibly fast. It was like watching a different person inhabit her body. The fear vanished, replaced by a quiet authority. Mr. Zhao, who had been halfway out the door, paused. He looked at her. Surprised, he answered her sharply. She replied, her voice never rising, her hands gesturing slightly. She was calming him. She was negotiating. Rosa moved to my side. "Boss." "Let her work," I said. For 10 minutes, I watched this girl, this barista who could barely take my coffee order, command a room. She and Mr. Zhao went back and forth. The anger drained out of his face, replaced by calculation. Finally, she turned back to me. Her gaze was still diverted, focused somewhere on my lapel. He says the manifest is the problem, she said, her English stammer returning slightly, but stronger now. The Customs and Border Protection flag is because the harmonized system code for the electronic components does not match the listed weight or the country of origin certification. I stared at her. The harmonized system code. She nodded. I used to study linguistics, she said quietly, and logistics for supply chain management. She swallowed. He says the bill of lading was modified 12 hours before docking. He believes it was sabotage, not a mistake. This girl was not just translating. She understood the mechanism. She understood the business. Mister, Zhao said something else. May listened. He says the container cannot stay at Red Hook. It is attracting too much attention. He wants a decision tonight. He says he can still get it to Baltimore if you absorb the cost. But he needs a guarantee. What guarantee? He says the pharmaceuticals. She paused, and her breath hitched. I watched her closely. The precursors are the real problem. He says that word was never supposed to be on the manifest. She translated the word precursor, but as she said it, she paled. Her eyes darted away, not just from me, but from the word itself, as if it had physically struck her. She knew exactly what that word implied, and it terrified her. Before I could answer, the cafe manager, a slimy man in a cheap suit, scurried over. Mr. Moretti, sir, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for the interruption. I will get her out of here immediately. She is fired. He reached out to grab the girl's arm. I caught his wrist. My grip was not gentle. He froze, his eyes wide. She stays, I said. I let go of his wrist, reached into my jacket, and pulled out the roll of cash I kept for emergencies. I peeled off what looked like $5,000 and threw it on the wet counter. That, I said to the manager, is for her time and for the coffee. The manager looked at the money, then at me, and vanished into the back office. I turned back to May. She was staring at the pile of cash. Mr. Zhao cleared his throat. Tell him, I said to May, that I appreciate his patience. Tell him I will absorb the cost for Baltimore, and tell him I need him, and his captain. At the meeting tonight, 9 o'clock. My office. You will give him the address. She looked at me, her eyes full of panic. Me, I cannot go to your office. You are my translator now. I said it was not a request. She translated my message. Mister. Zhao nodded, his composure regained. He gave her a respectful bow, a courtesy he had absolutely not shown me, and left the cafe. The silence returned, heavier this time. It was just me, Rosa, Nico, and the barista. She was trembling, but she did not run. She was looking at the $5,000. I saw the war in her eyes. She was afraid of the money, but she needed it. Rosa had already done the homework. Mei Lin, 26, lives in Chinatown, dropped out of college 2 years ago. Her younger brother, Ethan, was in Mount Sinai with acute myeloid leukemia. The hospital bills were astronomical. Tonight, I said, softer this time, 9 o'clock, I will pay you another $10,000 for 3 hours of your time. She looked up at me. Her fear was palpable, but something else was fighting it, a desperate, sharp intelligence. What is in the container? She asked. Her voice was barely a whisper. The stammer was back. I told you, electronics, pharmaceuticals. The word he used, the precursors, is it drugs? Is it weapons? I leaned in. I gave her the smile that my father taught me, the one that calms mayors and reassures judges. It is just specialized electronics, and legal pharmaceutical components, very high value. That is why the manifest is so sensitive. I was lying. She knew I was lying, but she wanted to believe me. $10,000 would cover her brother's treatment for another month. She stared at me for a long time. I could see her calculating the cost, not the money, the real cost. She was standing on the edge of her entire life, and I was asking her to jump. Finally, she gave a single, jerky nod. Just translating, nothing else? Just translating, I agreed. Nico moved to give her the address, but as Mei Lin looked past me, her gaze met Rosa DeLuca's. Rosa had not moved. She had not spoken. She was just watching Mei, and in Rosa's eyes, there was no reassurance. There was only ice. Mei Lin saw it. She saw the truth that my smile tried to hide. She swallowed, her hand gripping the cleaning rags so tightly her knuckles were white. She had just made her choice. And she knew, just as I did, that she was already in too deep. Nico Romano would drive her home. I made that clear before we left the ruined quiet of the cafe. "I can take the subway," she said, her voice small. She was still clutching the $5,000 in her fist as if it were a weapon. "No," I said. "You cannot." Nico is my driver, but he is also my shadow. He's quiet, built of brick, and understands loyalty. He opened the door to the black sedan, and she hesitated. "It is just a ride, May." I said, "Protection. You earned it." She looked at me, then at Rosa, then at the car. She got in. Chinatown was not far, but in my world, the blocks between safety and chaos are measured in seconds, not miles. As I watched the sedan pull away, Rosa lit a cigarette. "You are trusting her fast, Dante." "She needs the money," I said, turning toward my own car. "That makes her reliable." "It also makes her desperate," Rosa countered. "Desperate people are liabilities." I did not have time to argue. We had 4 hours until the meeting. I needed to know who else wanted this container. Back in my real office, the one above a silent butchery in the meatpacking district, the picture became clearer. Rosa laid out the file. "The Ghost Crane Triad," she said. I knew the name. They were new, violent, and technically sophisticated. They controlled the scrapyards over in Jersey. "Their leader," she continued, "is a man named Gao Liang. He's the one who spooked Zhao. Gao wants the Red Hook routes. He does not just want the container, boss, but he wants the whole supply line. He's the one who likely tipped customs and border protection, trying to squeeze us out." This complicated things. Gao Liang did not play by the old rules. He was not interested in territory. He was interested in disruption. My phone rang. It was Nico. "Boss, we have a problem." I never liked that phrase. "What?" "I am at the Harbor Grind to pick up May for the meeting. She was finishing her shift. The place is... It is a mess. The manager is screaming. Someone came in the back door." My blood went cold. "Where is she?" "I cannot find her. The manager said she was in the back." "I am on my way," I said. I was moving before I finished the sentence. The rain was heavier now. We made it to the cafe in 10 minutes. Nico was right. The back of the cafe was destroyed. The storage room was trashed. Bags of coffee beans slid open. Milk flooding the floor. The manager was babbling. They burst in. 2 men. They were not here to rob. They were here to break. They asked for her. For May. "Where is she?" "I do not know. She ran. Maybe into the walk-in." I pushed past him. The walk-in freezer door was at the back. It was heavy stainless steel. I grabbed the handle. It was latched. From the outside. I ripped the latch open and pulled the door. A cloud of icy fog spilled out, smelling of frozen pastry and fear. She was huddled on the floor, shoved between racks of frozen milk. She was blue. Her lips were gray. She was wrapped in her thin coat, shivering so violently it looked like a seizure. She looked up at me, her eyes wide and blank with cold. "May," I went in, pulling her up. She was light, her limbs stiff. They locked me in," she whispered, her teeth chattering. They said to tell the Italian, the port belongs to the Ghost Crane." I lifted her. She weighed nothing. I carried her out of the freezer, through the wreckage of the cafe, and pushed past the flashing lights of the first police car arriving. I put her in my sedan, turning the heat to full blast. Nico got in the driver's seat. "Boss, take the manager's statement." I told the officer who approached. "A gas line exploded. My employee is in shock. I am taking her to the hospital." We did not go to the hospital. We went to my office. I wrapped her in a heavy wool blanket from the back room and sat her on the leather sofa. I gave her a brandy. She held the glass with both hands, the shaking finally starting to slow. She had not cried, she was terrified, but beneath the terror, I saw something else. A cold, hard anger that matched my own. They had not just scared her, they had insulted her. "This," I said, sitting across from her, "is why you cannot take the subway." She looked at me, the color slowly returning to her face. "That was because of you. Because of that container." "Yes." I leaned forward. "Which means you are now part of it. This is not just translating anymore. They see you with me. They see you as mine." I am not yours," she said, her voice small but fierce. "In their eyes, you are." I had to make her understand. "So, we have new rules. After 7 post-meridium, you do not go anywhere alone, Nico, or someone I choose will pick you up. You will share your schedule with me. All of it." She bristled. I watched her fight the instinct to obey, the urge to survive warring with her pride. "You are not my keeper. You are my employer. For $10,000. I am the man who just pulled you out of a freezer. They will come for you again to get to me. Understand?" She nodded, biting her lip. "I understand control." The silence stretched. Then she looked at the computer on my desk. "You said electronics," she said, her voice steadier. "I did. You sent me the file, the bill of lading, the one Mr. Zhao was arguing about. I sent it an hour before the meeting, so she could familiarize herself with the terms. I looked at it. She said." She stood up, wrapping the blanket around her shoulders, and walked to my desk. She sat down. "You think you just sent me a shipping manifest?" She navigated the mouse. She knew what she was doing. She opened the file. It is a portable document format, but it is not just one file. She showed me the file's properties, the metadata. It was edited 12 hours before docking, right after it left international waters. She clicked on an icon I had never seen, one that looked like a paperclip. Embedded in the file, hidden, was another file, a scan. "This," she whispered, "is the original manifest, before they changed it in transit." She opened the scan. The harmonized system codes were different. The weight was different. The description was not electronics. It was laboratory precursors. "How did you know to look?" I asked, my voice flat. She did not answer. She just pointed to a long string of numbers at the bottom of the page. "This is the container number, UNIU, 624. She traced it with a trembling finger. "I know this number," she said. "Not this exact one, but this series, this shipping line. My father, he was a dock worker at Red Hook. He was fired last year. They said he let a bad container slip through inspection." She looked up at me, her eyes burning. "It was this series. He was blacklisted. We lost everything." She pointed back at the screen. "This is not just pharmaceuticals, Mr. Moretti. This is fentanyl, or the precursors to make it. This is what ruined my family. And you are importing it." The accusation hung in the air. Rosa was still watching me. I looked at the screen. The girl was right. This was not a simple import. Gao Liang had not just tipped customs. He had set a trap. He let us import the poison, and he was waiting to spring the trap. I was in a bind. My family owed a significant debt to the old guard in Sicily. This shipment was meant to clear it. My niece, my sister's girl. Her future depended on my family's stability. "We push through," Rosa said, her voice like gravel. "We clear the container, we move it, we pay the debt." "And then what?" I snapped. "Gao Liang leaks the real manifest to the press. We are not just smugglers, we are poisoners. It is a risk we have to take. It is the business." "No." We both turned. May was standing, the blanket pulled at her feet. "No," she said again, stronger. "If you do that, you are finished. This is not just smuggling. This is a federal charge. They will use the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. They will seize every asset. This office, your cars, your sister's house. everything. You will not just go to prison, you will be erased." She was talking from experience. She was describing what happened to her father. "You have to change the deal," she said, walking back to the computer. "Change the deal," Rosa scoffed. "The container is at the dock." "The manifest says electronic components and pharmaceuticals," May said, her fingers flying across the keyboard. She was searching online. "The bad manifest, the one Customs and Border Protection is looking at. So, we make it real." She turned to me. "There is a community hospital, St. Jude's, in the Bronx. My brother, he was there for a while. They have nothing. Their diagnostic machines are 20 years old. They are rationing testing kits." She pointed to the fake manifest. "These codes, they are close to codes for ventilators, for diagnostic scanners. We do not move the container to Baltimore. We discover the error. We donate the entire shipment. We flip the narrative. You are not an importer. You are a philanthropist. Gao Liang cannot expose the precursors without exposing himself. You turn his trap into a public relations victory." I stared at her. The sheer audacity of it. The brilliance. "We lose the money," Rosa said flatly. "You lose the money anyway if you are indicted," May shot back. "This way, you lose the profit, but you gain leverage. You become legitimate." I looked at the girl, the barista, the logistics student, the daughter of a ruined dockworker. She was offering me a way out, not just from this container, but from the entire life. "How?" I asked. "How do we contact the hospital?" "I will do it," she said, "through an anonymous donor channel. I will talk to their fundraising director, Dr. Olivia Hart. I will frame it as a logistics company with a surplus shipment. They will not ask questions if it means saving lives." I made the decision. "Do it." Rosa looked at me, her eyes unreadable. "Do it," I said again. "Set the meeting, Rosa. You will be with her. Every call, every step." Mei Lin nodded, her face pale but set. She had stopped being a translator. She had just become the most dangerous person in the room. The meeting with Dr. Olivia Hart took place the next morning in a small, cramped office at St. Jude's that smelled of antiseptic and old paper. The doctor was a tall, exhausted-looking woman in a white coat that was one size too large. She looked at May and then at the woman standing silently behind her. Rosa DeLuca had not introduced herself. She just stood by the door, a silent, perfectly dressed statue of menace, her presence sucking the air out of the room. May felt her stammer rising, the familiar tightness in her chest. She was acutely aware of Rosa watching her, judging her performance. I represent," May began, forcing the words out, "a private and logistics group, an anonymous donor." Dr. Hart sighed, rubbing her eyes. "Ma'am, if this is about a $500 check for the gala, I appreciate it, but I have a budget meeting in 10. "It is about a container," May said, finding her footing. "A container of medical equipment currently held at Red Hook." Dr. Hart stopped rubbing her eyes. "What equipment?" "Ventilators, diagnostic scanners, several thousand testing kits." May slid a printed sheet across the desk. It was the revised manifest she and I had created last night. "My employers had a surplus in their order. They heard about the work you do here. They would like to donate the entire shipment." The doctor looked at the list. Her skepticism was warring with a desperate hope. "This list, this is worth millions. Why us? And why anonymously?" "My employer, he believes in quiet charity," May said. "He wants no credit. He only wants to ensure the equipment is put to use, not resold." Dr. Hart looked at Rosa, then back at May. "This is highly irregular. We cannot just accept a container. There are inspections. There is provenance. My group will handle all port clearances and delivery. We just need a letter of intent from St. Jude's, accepting the donation pending a full inspection upon arrival. We can have the first truck here in 48 hours. The doctor stared at the list again. "Ventilators. We have 3 patients sharing one in the pediatric intensive care unit right now." She looked up, her gaze hardening. I do not know who you people are, but if this is real, and if this equipment is certified, you will save lives. I will get you the letter." The drive back was heavy with an electric silence. Nico drove the sedan smoothly through the midday traffic, his eyes constantly moving, checking every mirror. May sat in the back, the signed letter feeling impossibly heavy in her bag. Rosa was in the passenger seat. They were on the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway when May saw them. 2 motorcycles, black, moving too fast. Weaving through the cars, they were not just riding, they were hunting. One pulled alongside the driver's side, the other fell in behind. May's breath caught. The rider on the side turned his head. He wore a mirrored visor, but on the side of his helmet, she saw it, a small, stylized stencil of a red crane, the ghost crane. Ghost. "Nico," she whispered. "I see them," Nico said. His voice was calm, but his knuckles were white on the wheel. The bike on the side accelerated slightly and then slammed its front wheel into the sedan's side panel. The car shuddered. May was thrown against the door. Rosa did not even flinch. "Lose them, she said. Nico did not need to be told. The motorcycle from behind moved in, trying to box them. Nico hit the brakes. A controlled, violent stop that sent the rear bike swerving to avoid a collision. In that same second, Nico spun the wheel, flooring the accelerator and shooting the sedan across 2 lanes of traffic, aiming for the next exit ramp. It was not a chase. It was a statement. "We see you. We know who she is." The bikes did not follow them off the ramp. They did not need to. The message was delivered. Nico pulled over on a quiet side street in Queens. He turned to look at May, who was breathing hard. "You are okay, Miss Lynn?" he asked. May just nodded, her hands shaking. Rosa turned around, her dark eyes unreadable. "You did well, both of you." She looked at May. "Welcome to the family." The main meeting had to be moved. Not my office, not theirs, neutral ground. I chose a cold storage warehouse in Red Hook, one of my family's older properties. The air inside hummed with the sound of massive generators and smelled faintly of frozen fish. It was 5 degrees inside. Our breath plumed in the air. "Mister?" Zhao and his 2 men arrived. They looked unhappy, their expensive suits looking ridiculous in the industrial frost. May was there, standing beside me. She wore a thick parka I had Nico buy for her. She looked small, but her eyes were steady. She had survived the freezer and the motorcycle. She was different. "Mr. Zhao," I began, and May translated instantly. "I appreciate you coming. The situation has changed." "It has," Zhao said in Mandarin, his voice sharp. "My sources say you were targeted. My sources say the Ghost Crane Triad is watching this shipment. This is bad for my business, Mr. Moretti." "It is bad for all of us," I said, May's voice echoing mine in perfect Mandarin. "Gao Liang set a trap. He wanted you to deliver the precursors, and he wanted me to be caught holding them. He would ruin us both." Zhao's face darkened. He knew I was right. "So, we are changing the deal," I continued. "We are not moving the precursors. We are not shipping to Baltimore." "What?" Zhao was furious. "The container. The container is a liability." May stepped in, her voice strong, speaking for herself now. "We have analyzed the risk. The manifest is already flagged. Moving it is impossible. We pivot." I watched, impressed. She was not just translating, she was negotiating. "We activate the legal manifest," she said. "The one listing medical supplies. My employer," she nodded to me, "has found a legitimate recipient, a hospital." Zhao looked confused, but the cargo is not medical supplies. "It will be," I said. "You will contact your people. You will source the exact items on this list." I handed him the same list May gave the doctor. "You will prepare a new shipment, a clean one. And the first container, the precursors. Gao Liang thinks it is our weakness. We will make it our strength. We are donating it to the city. We are reporting the discrepancy ourselves." Zhao was stunned. "You are giving it away." "No," I said. "I am buying my legitimacy, and yours," Gao Liang cannot expose us without exposing himself. May added, we propose a split shipment. You send the real medical supplies on a new, clean route. My employer absorbs the cost. You sever your ties with the precursor network. We all walk away clean. Zhao was considering it. He was a businessman. He saw the logic. And that was when the heavy warehouse door slid open with a groan, flooding the space with the yellow light of the docks. A man walked in, flanked by 4 others. He was young, dressed in a sharp, modern suit that looked out of place in the cold. He was smiling. A very clever plan. Dante. Gao Liang said his English was perfect, unaccented. Donating the poison, how very noble. My men moved, their hands inside their coats. Gao's men did the same. Mister, Zhao looked like he was going to be sick. This is a private meeting, Gao, I said. It was, he corrected. But my container is being discussed, so I invited myself. He walked closer, his smile never leaving his face. His gaze shifted from me to May. And you, he said, looking at her. I know you. Mei Lin. Your father was Hao Lin. Worked this very dock number 7, until we had him fired. May went rigid. He was a good worker, Gao continued, circling her like a shark. But careless, he liked to take things home. Sometimes, he made things disappear. A very useful skill. He tapped his temple. He was on our payroll for 6 months. A thief. It is in the blood, is it not? May was shaking her head, her face pale. No, that is a lie. Is it? Gao said softly. Ask your mother where the money came from for your brother's first round of treatment, before he relapsed. It was a killing blow, a psychological execution. May staggered back, as if he had struck her. I stepped between them, my body physically shielding hers. I looked at Gao. The past, I said, my voice dangerously low, does not define the present. You are done here. I'm just getting started, Gao hissed. That container is mine. You will move it, or she will pay the price your father did. He turned and walked out, his laughter echoing in the frozen air. May was leaning against a stack of crates, her eyes closed, trying to breathe. I had protected her, but the damage was done. 2 hours later, Rosa sat in a booth at a diner in Carroll Gardens. Across from her sat a woman in a government-issue pantsuit. Agent Sarah Ortega of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. You have been feeding me scraps for a year, Rosa, Ortega said, sipping her bad coffee. Small-time bookies. A few union skimming cases. Now you call me for an emergency meeting. This had better be good. It is, Rosa said. Dante Moretti. He's trying to go legitimate. Ortega laughed. A Moretti going straight. That is a new one. He is, Rosa insisted. He's being mentored by a civilian. He's about to pivot his entire operation, but he is in a jam. The Ghost Crane Triad, Gao Liang. Ortega's expression sharpened. We know Gao. We cannot touch him. He is clean. He is not, Rosa said. He's running the largest precursor network on the East Coast, and Dante's container, the one you are watching at Red Hook, it is full of it. Gao set him up. Ortega leaned in, and Dante is not going to move it. He's going to donate it. He's going to expose the whole thing to save himself, but he needs a path. I want you to give it to him. You want me to what, give the Moretti family a pass? I want you to let him pivot. Let him make the donation. Let him be the hero. And in exchange, I will give you the real prize. I will give you Gao Liang, the precursor route, his entire network. Ortega was silent for a long time. Why, Rosa, why now? Because, Rosa said, placing a $20 bill on the table, I have worked for his family for 30 years. His grandfather was a thief. His father was a killer. Dante, he can be something else. I am trying to save the last Moretti worth saving. Ortega watched her walk out. She was skeptical, but she was listening. That night, May could not sleep. Gao's words about her father echoed in her head. She sat at my desk, the $10,000 I had already paid her sitting untouched in her bag. She was not searching for hospital information anymore. She was hunting. She opened the file on Port Atlas Limited Liability Company, Gao's shell company. She followed the incorporation papers. She looked at its bank transfers. They were nonsensical. Large sums moved for consulting fees. Then she saw it, a series of transactions to a digital wallet. She recognized the pattern from a data analysis seminar she had taken before she dropped out. They are not just wiring money, she whispered to herself. She opened a different browser. She navigated to a blockchain explorer. She punched in the wallet address. It lit up. Hundreds of transactions. They were buying non-fungible tokens. They were laundering the drug money through digital art, buying a JPEG of a cartoon ape for $200,000 and selling it to another wallet for $195,000. It was clean in 2 clicks. I found you, she whispered. She copied the entire transaction history. She now had a map of Gao's money. I had been standing in the doorway, watching her. I did not understand the technology, but I understood the look on her face. It was the same look I saw on my grandfather's face when he solved a problem at the docks. She had found a weapon. I walked in. She looked up, startled. That, I said, pointing to the screen, is more than logistics. That is strategy. I sat on the edge of the desk. This is not about $10,000 anymore. May, it is not about one night. I looked at her. I will pay for your brother's treatment, all of it, until he is clean. I will pay for you to finish your degree, your master's, whatever you want. She stared at me, her eyes wide. In exchange for what? Your mind, your loyalty, this pivot, this donation. It is the first step. I am getting out. I am making this family clean. I cannot do it alone. I need you. I held out my hand. I need you to trust me. She looked at my hand. She thought about her father. She thought about the freezer. She thought about Gao's smiling face. She put her hand in mine. It was cold, but her grip was strong. Okay, Dante? The night air at the secondary yard in Red Hook was sharp with salt and rust. It was just after 2 o'clock in the morning. The container, number UNIU 624, sat under the harsh yellow floodlights, looking massive and inert. My men were silent, waiting for my signal. Nico stood by the truck, ready to load the donation. May was beside me, holding a clipboard with the legitimate paperwork for St. Jude's, her face pale in the light. The Customs and Border Protection shift change at the main terminal just happened, Rosa said quietly from my other side. They are busy with a tip-off about an agricultural shipment at Pier 7. We have 90 minutes. Good, I nodded to Nico. Open it. My men moved, using the bolt cutters. The heavy steel doors groaned open. This was the moment, the pivot. The second the seals were broken, we were committed to her plan. Nico clicked on a heavy flashlight and aimed the beam inside. The first few crates were exactly what we expected. White boxes with the medical supplier's logo, matching the manifest May had created. See, I started to say, relieved. Wait, Nico said. He climbed inside, moving past the first row. Boss, you need to see this. I climbed up after him. Behind the legitimate crates was a second, temporary wall of cheap plywood. Behind that wall were dozens of nondescript plastic barrels, blue and unmarked. The chemical smell hit me instantly, sharp, acidic, unmistakable. Precursors. My blood turned to ice. He mixed them, Rosa said, her voice a low growl. That bastard. He mixed them. The trap was brilliant. If we delivered this to the hospital, they would open it and find $10 million worth of fentanyl precursors. We would not be philanthropists. We would be monsters who tried to poison a children's ward. If we did not deliver it, Gao would leak to the press that the generous Dante Moretti canceled his donation, and then he would anonymously tip the Federal Bureau of Investigation where to find the container full of narcotics he knew we were holding. He had gamed both sides. Mister, Zhao had been a fool, or he had been in on it. "Close it, no!" I roared. "Close the doors now!" My men slammed the doors shut. "We dump it," I said, my mind racing. "The whole thing. Drive the truck into the river." "No," May said. I turned on her. "This was your plan. this legitimacy. She did not flinch. She was terrified, but she was thinking, that is what he wants you to do. If you dump it, you destroy the evidence, the medical supplies, the real supplies. He still wins. You look guilty. So what do? We create a chain of custody. Right now. She pulled out her phone. Dr. Hart. She trusted me. Her hospital's legal counsel. He is waiting for my call to confirm the delivery. We call her. We tell her the shipment was sabotaged. And say what? Rosa snapped. That the gift basket has a bomb in it. We tell her the truth, May said. We set up a camera. We start a private live stream. Just for her and her lawyer. We open the container, on camera. We separate the cargo, the good from the bad. We create an undeniable, time-stamped record of what we found. We cut Gao's narrative off before it even begins. It was a solid plan, a clean plan. Do it, and I said, May dialed. It rang, and rang, straight to voicemail. She is not picking up, May said, panic creeping into her voice. It is 3:00 in the morning. She should be. Rosa's phone vibrated. A text. She read it, and her face went ashen. It is from an unknown number. Rosa said, it is a picture. She showed me the screen. It was Dr. Olivia Hart. She was in the back of a car, her mouth taped, her eyes wide with terror. A second text came through. She was so eager to see the donation. She drove to the yard herself. We picked her up. The Jersey scrapyard. Bring the girl. And bring the wallet keys she found. You have 1 hour. Come alone, Dante. Gao, he had been one step ahead the entire time. May let out a small, strangled cry. He has her because of me. He has her because of me, I corrected, the rage settling into a cold, hard point. Rosa was staring at her phone, her thumb hovering over a different contact. Agent Sarah Ortega. Rosa, do not deny us, I said. Dante, this is an abduction, she argued, her voice low. This is a federal crime. We call this in. We let the Federal Bureau of Investigation handle the hostage situation. And what? I countered. They swarm the yard, Gao kills the doctor and vanishes. Or a shootout starts. And they find the container. We are finished. We are all arrested. No, this is my mess. I handle it. How? He wants me. He wants the keys. He gets me. I turned to Nico. You stay here. You lock this container down. Nobody touches it. You get that live stream ready. The second I give the word, you start recording. And you send that link to the hospital's lawyers, the press, everyone. We burn the shipment, but we burn Gao with it. Boss, you cannot go alone, Nico protested. He said alone, I go alone. I grabbed my keys. That is in order. I left them in the yard and got into my sedan. I was halfway to the bridge when I heard the passenger door open. Mei Lin slid into the seat. Get out, I said. No, she said. She was wearing the parka, but she was trembling. May, this is not a negotiation. This is not logistics. He will kill you. Well, he said, bring the girl. And he said, bring the wallet keys. I have the keys. She held up a small universal serial bus drive, and I am the only one who can verify the transactions. You need me. I need you safe. You need to win, she shot back. And you cannot win if you do not understand his language. I am not just talking about Mandarin. I am talking about the blockchain. I am your translator. You said it yourself. I looked at her for 5 long seconds. The fear in her eyes was real, but the resolve was stronger. She was right. I put the car in gear. Put your seatbelt on. The scrapyard in Jersey was a cathedral of rust, mountains of twisted metal looming in the dark. Gao was waiting in a small clearing, lit by the high beams of 2 sports utility vehicles. He was sitting on the hood of a car, smiling. Dr. Hart was on her knees, hands bound, one of his men holding a gun to her head. Dante, he called out, his voice echoing, you came, and you brought the little mouse. How loyal. Let the doctor go, Gao, I said, walking into the light. May stayed close behind me. She has nothing to do with this. She has everything to do with this, Gao said. She is the face of your legitimacy, the proof of your charity." He laughed. "Did you really think I would let you become a hero? My family has controlled those routes for 50 years. You are just a tourist." "The container is a loss." I said, "You win. Let her go." "Give me the keys," he said, holding out his hand. May looked at me. I nodded. She stepped forward and handed him the universal serial bus drive. He examined it. "The ledger. All my accounts. Very smart. Little mouse. You could have been a good accountant for me." "You have it," May said, her voice shaking. "Now let her go." "No," Gao said simply. He tossed the drive to one of his men. "You see, the keys are just insurance. The real prize is this." One of his men stepped forward, holding a video camera. Another placed a single sheet of paper and a pen on the hood of the car. "What is that?" I asked. "A partnership agreement," Gao said. "It states that you, Dante Moretti, knowingly partnered with my organization in Port Atlas to import the precursors. It says the donation was a failed attempt to launder the product. It is a confession. You will sign it and you will read it. For the camera. You go to hell." Gao sighed. He nodded to the man holding Dr. Hart. The man pressed the gun harder against her temple. The doctor whimpered. "She is an innocent. Dante, a woman saving children, and you will be the one who gets her killed. Sign it." I looked at the doctor, at May, at the gun. This was the end of the Moretti line, not with a bang, with a signature on a piece of unpaper in a junkyard. I picked up the pen. "Wait!" May shouted. Everyone looked at her. "He will sign, yeah," she said, stepping toward Gao. But she was speaking Mandarin. Her voice was sharp, authoritative. The stammer was gone. She sounded like Mr. Zhao. Gao looked surprised. She continued, speaking rapidly. "He agrees, but he says you are a fool to use a public ledger. He says your blockchain security is pathetic, and that this drive is one of 5 copies I already sent." Gao's smile vanished. "What did she say?" he snapped at me in English. "She is translating," I said, playing along. May kept going, her voice rising, using complex financial terms in Mandarin. "He says this confession is amateur. He says you do not even own the wallets you think you own. He says you are just a puppet for the old men in Hong Kong, and that your dead father would be ashamed of this sloppy work." It was a gamble. She was improvising, building a tower of insults based on nothing but her own analysis. "Liar," Gao roared, his face purple. He forgot English. He lunged at her. "Not me. You know nothing." He raised his hand to strike her. That was the opening. The world exploded in light. "Now," Nico's voice bellowed from the darkness above. 2 sets of high beams from a crane overhead flashed on, blinding Gao and his men. Nico and 4 of my men, who must have followed us from the yard, dropped from a container stack. It was chaos. Nico tackled the man holding Dr. Hart, spinning her to safety. I grabbed May and threw her behind the car. Gao's men were disoriented. The fight was short, brutal, and one-sided. It was not a gunfight, it was a brawl. My men were dock workers. They knew how to fight. In 30 seconds, it was over. Gao's men were on the ground. Gao himself was scrambling backward, pulling a knife. One of my younger men, Bruno, pulled his gun, aiming it at Gao's chest. "No," I shouted. Bruno paused. I walked over to the last Ghost Crane member still standing, a young man who looked barely 20. He was terrified. I took the gun from Bruno's hand, but I did not aim it. I handed the gun, handle first, to the young man. He stared at me, confused. "Go," I said. "Tell your boss. Tell everyone. The rules have changed. We are not in this business anymore. This is your only chance. Get out of my city." He stared at the gun, at me, and then he ran, disappearing into the mountains of scrap. Gao was on the ground, Nico's boot on his chest. Dr. Hart was safe, crying, wrapped in Nico's coat. May stood up from behind the car, her eyes fixed on me. She had just seen me choose mercy over murder. She was looking at me like she had never seen me before. I looked at the camera, still recording on the hood of the car. I walked over and picked up the confession paper. I tore it in half. "Nico," I said, Call Agent Ortega. Tell her we have a gift for her." We did not get Gao at the scrapyard. He vanished into the labyrinth of twisted metal while my men secured Dr. Hart and waited for the police. But his camera did not vanish. By 6 o'clock in the morning, the internet was on fire. He had not just edited the video from the night before. He had crafted a masterpiece of disinformation. He used the footage of me hesitating, of Dr. Hart on her knees. He took the audio of me saying, "The container is a liability," and spliced it with close-ups of the blue precursor barrels. He painted me as the new kingpin of fentanyl, a monster who imported poison and then tried to frame a rival while hiding behind a hospital. The social media feeds exploded. The local news channels picked it up. Mob war explodes at Red Hook. Moretti family linked to deadly precursor ring. My name, my face, my family imitate was attached to every headline. The district attorney's office, smelling blood, announced an immediate investigation. They were threatening to raid my properties, seize all my assets. The racketeer, influenced and corrupt organization's charge May warned me about was no longer a possibility. It was a promise. I was in my office, the television muted, watching my reputation burn. My men were silent. Rosa was chain-smoking by the window. May was at the desk, her fingers flying across the keyboard. She was not panicked. She was furious. "He is controlling the story with information," she said, her voice tight and cold. "So we use better information." She took a deep, steadying breath. She clicked the mouse. "What did you just do?" I asked. "I just sent an email," she said, turning her chair to face me, "to every major reporter in this city, to the district attorney's office, and to Agent Sarah Ortega, personally." "What was in it?" "Two things," she said, standing up. "First, the complete, unedited, annotated transaction ledger for Port Atlas Limited Liability Company. Every digital wallet, every dirty, non-fungible token purchase, a roadmap of Gao's entire money laundering operation. I showed them how he paid for the precursors." She took another document from the printer. "Second, the official, signed confirmation from St. Jude's." I looked at it. Dr. Hart, true to her word, had her legal team meet Nico at the yard at 5 o'clock in the morning. "They have taken possession of the ventilators," May said. "This letter thanks the anonymous donor for the life-saving equipment, and it confirms they are cooperating fully with the Federal Bureau of Investigation regarding the sabotaged portion of the shipment." She had done it. She had split the narrative. Gao showed the world the poison. She showed them the medicine. The media was suddenly confused. The district attorney was quiet. The public had two stories to choose from. But I was still trapped. The underworld did not care about hospital donations. They saw Gao's video. They saw me as weak, a man who got caught. The old families, the ones I owed, were calling, demanding I fix the disrespect Gao had shown. And the law was still coming. The district attorney did not care about my good deeds. He cared about the video, the precursors, and my family name. "He is stuck," Rosa said, her back to me. She was on her phone again, standing by the rain-lashed window. "He's trapped between the law and the street. One wrong move, and he gets the Racketeer-Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, and you lose your star witness. One wrong move, and he gets a bullet in the head from his rivals, and you lose your case. He's out of time." I realized she was talking to Agent Ortega. This was the final play. "You want Gao Liang," Rosa said, her voice dropping. "You want the whole network, not just the scrapyard. I will give you the main warehouse, the one in Queens, where he is right now, where he is storing the rest of the precursors from 3 other shipments. I will give you the hard drives, the offshore accounts, everything." There was a long pause. "What do you want?" "Rosa?" Ortega's voice was tinny over the phone. "Conditional immunity for Dante, for his new, legitimate businesses. You do not touch Moretti Logistics. You do not touch the hospital donation. You let him walk away. You take Gao, and you let Dante build something clean." "That is a high price for a source." Ortega said, "He is the one trying to do the right thing." Rosa said, "You want the shark, you have to let the guppy swim away. This is the only deal. Take it." Rosa ended the call. She turned to me. "The Federal Bureau of Investigation is moving. Tonight it ends, one way or another." The city turned dark. A storm was rolling in, the same cold November rain that had started this whole thing. My phone lit up. It was Nico. "Boss, it is happening. The federal raid. They hit the Queen's warehouse. It is all over the scanners. It is massive." "Gao?" I asked, standing up. "He slipped the net," Nico said, his voice tense. "They hit the warehouse, but he was not in it. He's running." A cold dread filled my stomach. Running, a cornered animal, is the most dangerous. Running where? He would go for the one person who had truly beaten him. "May," I whispered. I was already moving. "He's going for May." She was not at the office. She had gone home hours ago. No. She had said she was stopping at the harbor grind to pick up her last paycheck, to quit. I ran. I did not take the car. I ran the 10 blocks, the rain soaking me to the bone, my heart pounding in my throat, the old wound in my shoulder aching. I burst through the glass door of the harbor grind. The cafe was empty. It was closing time. The manager was gone. He was there. Gao Liang. He was standing behind the counter, right by the espresso machine, and he had May. He had a long, thin knife to her throat. "Dante," he hissed. His eyes were wild, bulging. He was drenched, desperate, a ruined man. "You took everything, your little mouse and her laptop. You burned me." "Let her go, Gao," I said, holding my hands up, my voice calm. I advanced slowly. "It is over. The feds have your warehouses. They have your money." "It is not over," he screamed, dragging her backward. "I will not be arrested. You will walk me out of here. She will be my shield. You will drive me to the airport, and you will give me $1 million. "Just let her go," I said, moving closer. "This is between you and me." "She is the one who did this," he snarled, pressing the blade against her skin. May was trembling. Her eyes squeezed shut, but then she opened them. She was not looking at the knife. She was looking at him. "You are wrong," she said. Her voice was quiet, clear. The stammer was gone. She spoke in Mandarin. "Yeah, it was not me," she said, and the words sharp and clean. "It was him, your brother." Gao froze. The hand holding the knife wavered, just a fraction. What did you say?" he whispered in Mandarin, forgetting me entirely. "Your brother," May repeated. "Gao Wei. He died of an overdose 2 years ago, in a small room in Flushing. I saw the transactions. Your first big transfer from the precursor money. It was not to buy a car. It was to pay for his funeral." She had found it, not on the blockchain, in the public records, the vital connection. "You are not doing this for money," she said, her voice impossibly sad. "You are doing this for him. You are selling the same poison that killed him. You think you are getting revenge on the world, but you are just becoming what you hate." "Be quiet," he sobbed. The rage in his face crumbled, replaced by a raw, hollow grief. He was just a man, hollowed out by loss. "You know nothing." "I know," she said. "My father, my family. We know what it is to lose everything." He was breaking. The knife was lowering. His grip on her loosened. And in that moment of hesitation, that single second of shared humanity, his rage returned. He looked at her, then at me. He realized what she had done. "You!" he screamed, the grief turning back to blind fury. He lunged. He was not aiming for her, he was aiming for me. I moved, shielding her, shoving her behind my body. The knife plunged deep into my left shoulder, grating against the bone. I felt the sharp, cold fire of the steel, the pop of muscle. I grunted, grabbing his wrist, the pain blinding me. The glass door of the cafe smashed open. Federal Bureau of Investigation dropped the weapon. Agent Sarah Ortega was there, her gun aimed, flanked by 2 agents. Gao saw her. He raised the knife again to finish me, to pull it out and stab again. There was a loud crack, not a gunshot, a specialized round, maybe a taser. The knife flew from Gao's hand, clattering against the metal side of the espresso machine. He screamed, clutching his wrist. Ortega was on him, her boot on his back, her knee driving into his spine, cuffs snapping shut. "Gao Liang," she said, breathing hard. "You're under arrest for the kidnapping of Dr. Olivia Hart and assault with a deadly weapon." She had kept her promise. He was alive. I was on the floor, leaning against the counter, the smell of coffee beans thick in the air. May was kneeling beside me, pressing a stack of clean napkins against my shoulder. The blood was dark. "Dante," she was saying, her voice thick with tears. "Stay! Just stay with me! You are okay!" I looked up, past Ortega, past the flashing blue and red lights that now filled the street. Up in the corner, by the ceiling, a small black dome, the security camera. It had seen everything. It had seen Gao holding her hostage. It had seen me stand between them. It had seen him lunge at me. It had seen the Federal Bureau of Investigation make a clean, legal arrest. Gao's deepfaked video was dead. Ours was perfect, objective, and real. The narrative was not just split, it was flipped. I looked at May. She was looking where I was looking. She understood. I smiled, the adrenaline fading, the pain rushing in. "It is okay," I whispered. I think I am going to need a coffee." The knife wound in my shoulder was clean. It missed the main artery. 17 stitches at the emergency room, and they discharged me before sunrise. The real bleeding, the one that could have destroyed my family, had been stopped by a small black security camera. That footage, released by the New York Police Department an hour after the arrest, did what my money and my father's reputation never could. It told the objective truth. The media pivoted so fast they gave themselves whiplash. The narrative Gao Liang had so carefully constructed, the one of the mob boss poisoning the city, evaporated. His deep-fake video was revealed as a fraud. The harbor grind footage was undeniable. I was no longer the kingpin. I was the local businessman who had cooperated with authorities to stop a dangerous kidnapper. I was the victim of the assault. St. Jude's held a press conference that afternoon. Dr. Olivia Hart, looking exhausted but safe, stood next to a row of newly installed diagnostic machines. She publicly announced the extraordinary donation of life-saving medical equipment, which had arrived just in time to keep the pediatric intensive care unit fully operational during a surge. And then there was May. The press found her. They loved the story. The barista who broke the case. They camped outside her apartment. They called her a hero. She hated it. She refused every interview, unplugged her phone, and hid in the small Chinatown apartment I now had Nico watching 24 hours a day. But this time, it was different. He was not parked on her doorstep. He was across the street, invisible, a guardian, not a guard. My pivot was not just a plan anymore. It was a public spectacle. My lawyers, who had been preparing for a federal indictment, were now in marathon negotiations with the district attorney's office. "They are willing to talk." My lead counsel, a man who charged $2,000 an hour, told me, "The public is on your side. The hospital is on your side." But Agent Sarah Ortega was not. She met me in my lawyer's sterile conference room. She slid a thick file across the polished mahogany table. "You are not a hero. Mr. Moretti, you are a cooperating witness, and as of now, you are on a very short leash." "What are the terms?" I asked. 24 months, she said, her voice flat and cold. "Strict federal supervision. We will conduct independent, random audits of every single one of your accounts. Your new Moretti Logistics Company will have a federal compliance officer on site with full access. You will not make a move without us knowing." She leaned in. "And you will continue to provide intelligence. Gao Liang was the head. I want the body. I want every last connection in his network, from the docks to the banks. You give me that. You get to stay clean. You slip. Once. And I will personally put you in a federal prison for 30 years. It was not a negotiation. It was an occupation. But it was also the only path. "Done," I said. The old world had to be visibly destroyed the next day. I stood on the steps of the old butchery in the meatpacking district, the place that had been my father's shadow office for my entire life. I announced, in front of a dozen news cameras, that I was permanently closing 3 properties: the butchery, the cold storage warehouse in Red Hook, and a garment district front. Everyone in the city knew what those places were. It was a public abdication. In the same breath, I announced the formation of the Moretti Community Fund, starting with an initial $1 million donation. It would be managed by an independent third party, benefiting the families of harbor workers and underfunded local hospitals, starting with St. Jude's. What I did not announce was the second fund, a private, anonymous trust managed by my lawyer. It was earmarked for one purpose: Mei Lin's full tuition. Her master's degree in supply chain management was paid in full. Her brother's catastrophic medical bills, past and future, were covered. She would never have to choose between money and morality again. My old family was dissolving. Nico Romano filed the incorporation papers for Romano Secure Transport. He was using my trucks, my capital, and my protection, but it was his name on the documents. He was clean. Rosa, however, was the cost of that freedom. She was the one who made the final call. She'd been a federal source for over a year. She had saved me, but she had broken the sacred, ironclad code of our world. She could not stay. I met her one last time in a sterile, safe house in Queens, arranged by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. She was already packed. "They are putting me in witness protection," she said, her gaze fixed on the wall. "Not on me. Someplace stupid, Arizona. I am going to be a compliance consultant for a solar panel company." "Rosa," I started, the word thick in my throat. "Do not," she cut me off, her voice sharp. "I did this for you, not for your father's memory, not for the name, for you. You were the only one who could be saved. Do not waste it. This is your one chance to be better than he was." She stood and walked to the door. She did not look back. My consigliere, the woman who had known me since I was a child, walked out of my life. 2 weeks later, St. Jude's held a formal dedication ceremony for the new pediatric ward equipment. They insisted May be there. She fought me on it all week. "I cannot," she said. "The night before, we were in my car, outside her building. I cannot speak in front of all those people." The stammer, which had vanished in the heat of the crisis, was creeping back. "I am not a hero. Dante, I am just the girl who was there." "You are the girl who changed the plan." I told her, my voice quiet. "You saved Dr. Hart. You saved me. You do not have to give a speech. Just stand there. Let them say thank you." She walked onto the small, makeshift stage in the hospital lobby. Dr. Hart gave a moving speech. The hospital president gave a speech. Then he turned to May. And now the young woman whose quick thinking, bravery, and expertise in supply chain logistics made this all possible. Miss Mei Lin. The applause was loud in the small space. May walked to the podium. She gripped the sides, her knuckles white. She looked out at the crowd, at the doctors, the nurses, the reporters, the patients in wheelchairs. Her eyes were wide. She looked terrified. She took a deep, visible breath. "My name is Mei Lin," she said. Her voice was quiet, but it was perfectly clear. There was no stammer. "I am not a hero. I am a logistics student. I saw a problem in the supply chain, and I saw a need." She looked over at Dr. Hart. "The heroes are the people in this building, the ones who use this equipment every day to save lives. I am very glad I could help." She stepped back. The applause was even louder. I stood in the back of the room, my arm in a black sling. I had never felt pride like that before. It was not the pride of a deal closed or a rival beaten. It was clean. It was real. I drove her home that night. The city was quiet. "You do not need Nico watching your apartment anymore," I said as we pulled up to her curb. "I know," she said, her hands in her lap. "But I am still going to worry." She turned to me in the darkness of the car. "Dante, what we did, it was not normal. I'm grateful. for my brother, for my tuition, but I cannot be one of your properties." "I know," I said. "That is not what I want." "The control," she said, her voice firm. "The share your schedule, the driver waiting for me, that cannot be us. If there is going to be an us." I met her gaze. She was not asking. She was telling. She was setting the terms of our new contract. Transparency, and I said, the word feeling new, not control. I will tell you where I am. I will tell you what I am doing. I will be honest with you. That is the boundary. That is the new rule for both of us. She searched my face for a long moment, and she must have found what she was looking for. She nodded slowly. "I can live with that." She did not get out of the car. "I have to go somewhere," she said quietly. "Will you come with me?" We drove deeper into Chinatown, to the small, walk-up apartment she shared with her mother. Her brother, I knew, was in a special recovery wing at Mount Sinai, his remission progressing well. Inside, the apartment was small but immaculate. Her mother was there. She saw me, her eyes widening in recognition. She looked at May, then at my arm in the sling. She nodded once, a polite, wary acknowledgement. In the corner of the small living room, there was a small, ornate, red and gold altar. There were photographs of her ancestors, a small brass bowl of rice, an offering of an orange. A thin plume of incense smoke curled in the air. May lit 3 sticks of incense from a candle. She held them between her palms, bowed deeply from the waist 3 times, and then placed them upright in the bowl of sand. She turned, lit 3 more sticks, and handed them to me. I looked at the smoking sticks. I looked at her. I was a Moretti. I was a Catholic. I had not been to Mass in a decade, but this was not my world. She just watched me, her expression open, waiting. I took the incense. I held it in my right hand, my left arm useless at my side. I stood before the pictures of her family, her father, the man Gao Liang had shamed, her grandfather. I held the incense and I lowered my head. I bowed. It was not a prayer. It was a promise. It was an apology. It was me, Dante Moretti, the 3rd generation, letting go of the arrogant pride that had nearly destroyed my entire family. I was lowering my ego, not just for her, but for myself. 1 year makes a difference. The harbor grind still smelled like coffee, but it smelled different. It smelled like baking bread and new paint. I bought the lease from the slimy manager the day after I got out of the hospital. Now it was a community hub, a registered B Corp, and a second chance hiring partner for the city. The baristas were kids from the neighborhood, ex-cons from the halfway house upstate, all of them looking for a clean start. I paid them double the minimum wage, and I offered full benefits. It was the best investment I ever made. Moretti Logistics was real. It was audited, insured, and painfully legitimate. My federal shadow, the compliance officer from Ortega's office, hated me, but he could not find a single discrepancy. Our profit margins were smaller, maybe 30% of what my father made, but I slept at night. We had just signed a long-term, exclusive contract with St. Jude's and 2 other hospital networks, managing their entire international supply chain. I was in my office, the new one, with glass walls overlooking a clean, bright warehouse. When Nico walked in, he did not knock. He was not my driver anymore. He was the head of his own company and my chief of security. We got a letter, he said. He placed a simple white envelope on my desk. No return address, the stamp was local. Inside was a single piece of paper with a red crane stamped on it. Below it, 1 sentence, "The past is never gone." I felt the old, familiar coldness in my gut, the remnants of the ghost crane. "What is the play, boss?" Nico asked. I looked at the note. A year ago. I would have had Nico find the man who sent this. I would have had him brought to a cold warehouse. I would have made him an example. "The play," I said, sliding the note into a clear plastic bag, "is that you log this as evidence. You give it to our liaison at the Federal Bureau of Investigation. You file a formal complaint of harassment, and you double the security protocols on the school shipment." Nico nodded, but he looked disappointed. That is it. We just, file paperwork. We are a legal protection team now. Nico, not an enforcement squad. We do not handle things. We document them. We let the law do its job. That is the new rule. He nodded, taking the bag. Got it. He understood. It was a harder, slower way, but it was the only way that would last. May was graduating, not from her master's program. Not yet. She had completed her certification as a court interpreter, passing the exam in the top 1%. She was already working, specializing in Mandarin and Cantonese for complex commercial litigation. She was in her first year of the Supply Chain Management Master's program, and she was already writing papers that were getting attention from shipping journals. She was the bridge. She was using her knowledge to help Chinatown businesses negotiate fair contracts with international suppliers, cutting out the predatory middlemen. She was doing what I had done, but without the blood. She was just using her mind. We were at a community block party in the Bronx, sponsored by St. Jude's. It was a celebration of the 1-year anniversary of the new pediatric ward. It was loud, full of music and kids getting their faces painted. I saw Agent Sarah Ortega standing by a food truck, watching. She was off duty, wearing jeans and a leather jacket. May saw her too and walked over. I stayed back. I was not invited to that part of the world. I watched as May spoke to her. He is clean, Ortega said, basin, her voice low enough that only May could hear. It is boring, it is tedious, and it is the most impressive thing I have ever seen a man in his position do. So the deal stands, May asked. Ortega nodded, taking a sip of a bottled water. We keep our word, as long as he keeps his. You tell him that. I proposed that night. We were not in a fancy restaurant. We were on the roof of her building in Chinatown, looking out over the skyline. The city was spread out before us like a carpet of diamonds. I had been carrying the box in my pocket for a week, and it felt heavier than a gun ever had. I did not know what to get you, I said, my voice rough. Wait, you do not need to get me anything, Dante. You gave me my brother's health. You gave me my education. That was a transaction. I said, this is not. I did not kneel. I stood in front of her. I opened the small black box. It was not a diamond ring, a rock like that. It represented the old world. It represented blood money, status, ownership. It was a simple, heavy bracelet of polished sterling silver. On the clasp, so small you could barely see it, was an engraving UNIU 624, the number of the container. The moment our lives changed. She looked at it, and her breath caught. She understood. It was not a symbol of possession. It was a symbol of a pivot, a memory of a choice. Dante, she whispered. I am not asking you to be a Moretti, I said, my voice quiet. I'm asking if you will let me be your man, on your terms, by your rules, transparency, no control, just partnership. She looked from the bracelet to my face. Her eyes were shining. Yes, she said. She held out her wrist. I fumbled with the clasp, my fingers thick and clumsy. She smiled and helped me. But with one condition, she said, her voice suddenly serious. She held my hand. This, she said, touching the silver, is beautiful. But my ethics, our ethics, they are not for sale, not for love, not for anything. If you ever slip, Dante, if you ever go back to that world, I will be the first person to testify against you. I looked into her eyes. She was not threatening me. She was reminding me who she was. She was setting the most important boundary. She loved me, but she loved what was right more. And that was why I loved her. I nodded. I agree. It was a vow, a new kind of oath, not of blood and silence, but of law and light. The dawn was breaking over Red Hook. The sky was a pale, clean gray, the water like steel. A new container was being unloaded. It was not a donation from me. It was a legitimate, complex shipment May had organized, a coalition of community businesses and the new Moretti Logistics. It was filled with 10,000 textbooks, 500 new computers, and educational equipment for a charter school in Brooklyn. May stood on a small, temporary platform, a microphone in her hand. She was translating the speech of the school principal, a proud woman from the neighborhood. May's voice was clear, her Mandarin fluent, her English precise. She was comfortable. She was in command. I did not stand on the platform. I was not at a head table. My arm was healed, the scar under my shirt a permanent reminder. I stood in the crowd, with the dock workers and the teachers. I watched her. I watched the crane lift the boxes that held books, not precursors. A few people recognized me. They nodded, respectfully, not with fear, just acknowledgement. May finished her translation. The crowd applauded. She looked for me, her eyes scanning the faces. She found me. She smiled, a real, bright smile that lit up the gray morning. I smiled back. I did not need to be the center of the world anymore. I was happy just to be in her orbit. I looked out at the water, the path we were on, the legal path. It was not easy. It was not instantly clean. It was a daily fight against old habits, old memories, and the shadows that still lingered. But it was the only path. It was the only one that led to peace. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I am so curious to know where in the world you are tuning in from. Please let me know in the comments below so we can all connect and share our thoughts. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe to my channel, Mafia Boss Stories, and like this video. And if you really want to support the channel, please hit that hype button so this story can be heard by even more people. Your support means the world to me.